This skater had a unique path to the NHL, and the big problem was everybody confused his name with his former teammate Barry Beck. But this guy was taken second overall in the 75 NHL Amateur Draft, not the strongest draft in the 1970s by a mile. But he was a talented player, but he decided to make a jump to the WHA with the Phoenix Roadrunners after being drafted by the NHL and the WHA, and came back to the NHL, but his career never really panned out. He was still a talented player, but he ranks still as the highest draft pick in NHL history to go directly to the WHA. There was previous ones, but like I said, 1975 was a weird year for players coming in to Major Pro Hockey. So today we'll be talking about the number 2 draft pick of the Kansas City Scouts, Barry Dean. Now taken second overall in 1975, 6'1", 195, from the beautiful Saskatchewan community of Maple Creek. First came to major prominence in the SJHL with Saskatoon and the WCHL with Medicine Hat. Now his draft year was his best in Major Junior. He had 115 points in 64 games, including 40 goals. Now that year he was a WCHL All-Star First Team, a very aggressive, offensive style player. Would kind of be a zone player, would be similar, let's say, to a Lambert and a Steve Shutt. Now the Medicine Hat Tigers were known for developing these type of players. Now he was taken 6th overall in the 75 WHA draft, but he ended up in Phoenix in this way. It's a little bit complicated. Now his rights were traded by Edmonton to Phoenix in exchange for a 1976 WHA first-round draft pick, which turned out to be Blair Chapman, a 1976 WHA third-round pick, which ended up being, of all people, Harold Filipoff, very a good player in cash in June of 75. Now, he eventually had kind of a up-and-down season with Phoenix in 76, 34 points in 71 games, including 9 goals. Now, what really hurt him that season, of course, he had a laceration in his right forearm that season. It required surgery and almost, not say cut off his arm, but it was pretty freaking close. It was very deep. Now, he decided to go back to the NHL for Colorado and skated his first game on October 8, 76 versus the Rangers. Now, Kansas City had moved to Colorado on July 15th, 1976, and there he played on a line with the very talented Paul Gardner and the very, very talented and aggressive Will Paymont. Now, he eventually found his way to Philadelphia to trade for Mark Suzor on August 5th, 1977, and 1977 78 with the Flyers. He had 25 points in 56 games, including 7 goals. Now, in 79, he won a Calder Cup in Maine, played the majority of the season there, 35 points in 36 games, 17 points in 30 games with the Flyers that year, including 4 goals. He spent the full season with Maine in 1980, with 49 points in 77 games, including 23 goals and 17 points in the playoffs. 81 with the Wichita Wind, where he had 28 points in 30 games, and wrapped up his career with one of my home province franchises, the Franklin Express, in the 82 season. Now, the thing about him playing in Maine, he became a hometown hero, ladies and gentlemen. That Calder Cup in 1979 with Maine was probably one of the most well-received championships in Maine hockey history, and it was kind of weird as it happened here. Now, he again won that Calder Cup in 1979, but he was eventually left unprotected by Philadelphia in the 79 NHL expansion draft, but was reclaimed as a fill-in after Dave Hoyda was drafted off roster. Then he was traded by Philadelphia to All Teams Edmonton for Ron Arskanoff and a 1980 10th round draft pick, which was Bob O'Brien, on June 11, 1980, but of course never played for the parent team because Edmonton was loaded with young prospects and veterans in that 1980 season. But it was kind of interesting in Franklin, ladies and gentlemen, because at the time, if I'm not mistaken, he was only, I think, 27, and that was his final stop. So not a full 10 years in major pro and minor pro, but good enough to get a big look from a number of franchises. But look at that 77 season in Colorado. Great promise, 39 points in 79 games. And again, that 78 with the Flyers. But the injury bug got him a few times. Now, final NHL totals: 25 goals, 56 assists for 81 points in 165 games. And WHA, 34 points in 74 games, including 9 goals. So again, any player that comes to Saskatchewan, that comes through the WCHL, especially 1970s, they had talent. Because if you can survive the Western League, it can be pretty rough. But like I said, I like to know the full story on what Phoenix offered them. I know the NHL players and draft picks were getting major offers with contracts, but again, to correct all the people from the 1970s about that, he was never Barry Beck. There was a Barry Dean and a Barry Beck. So. So for any old Colorado fans, this is a story to two Barrys. But Barry Dean, I think what he should have done, and hope people can understand where I'm coming from. He, in the 1977 World Hockey Championships for Canada, they should have selected him for that squad. I think he would have done quite well, because being a young player, and but there was no way to look at him later on, because Philadelphia obviously made the playoffs. But it's funny about 78 there. Barry never played in the playoffs that year. So, I mean, it was getting to be a point where maybe we're expecting 20 goals. He was only scoring 10 or 15 or whatever. And but like I said, a very, very talented guy who never reached his full potential. But in Medicine Hat, the numbers he put up, again, outstanding. Almost 300 points over 4 dedicated seasons, I would say. So this is the story of Barry Dean. If you like what we're doing with our Vintage NHL podcast, please let us know with a like, comment, or subscribe. And if you are a fan of Colorado, give me some different requests and some more players I can cover. I've covered quite a few for the defenders, the defensive players, the goalies. Some interesting players in Kansas City, Colorado before, again, the third shift. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a beautiful weekend in New Brunswick. Enjoy the weather, and don't forget to keep your stick in the ice. Bye.